Welcome, everyone. Today, we're joined by Dorinda So, Executive Director at pointA, an organization on a mission to connect people to the places they want to go. Dorinda, thanks so much for joining us today and for talking to us about your experiences working with Enkel. So you guys initially started working with Enkel in September of 2020, just before COVID hit, and you use Enkel for bookkeeping, accounts payable, and controllership services. To kick things off, why don't you tell me a bit about pointA?
Yeah, so it's a real pleasure to be able to speak with you and everyone watching. So pointA is actually based in Toronto, Ontario, and we serve all of Canada. Our goal is really to provide people, specifically employees, with options that would take them out of their car from driving alone and into hopefully more sustainable, more cost-effective options that may be available in their communities. So we have a number of different programs within the North Toronto Vaughan areas in Ontario. We run the Smart Commute program in partnership with the City of Vaughan, York Region, and the City of Toronto. And then actually outside of that, we have the Best Workplaces for Commuters program, which is a really great certification program that supports employers in investing in their employees to help them find different ways of getting around. And hopefully that helps with talent attraction and retention. We also run a shuttle program, which is a fun one that we like to have because they're branded very well. So we also operate that in Toronto.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, so I always say I'm a very good millennial. I've had a lot of different jobs, partly because I graduated in 2008, 2009, so just as the recession hit. So I've worked in a lot of different industries from healthcare, financial services, real estate. I spent quite a bit of time in public policy and economic research. And the last 10 years or so, I've been in nonprofit organizations. And I've been with pointA actually just before the pandemic. I started with them in June 2019. So it's definitely been a very interesting time. And it's been really great leading the team.
Awesome. So what are some of the challenges that you guys were facing before you started working with Enkel?
So many. I mean, we were looking for support actually just before the pandemic hit. In November 2019, we developed a remote work strategy because we realized our office is great, but maybe it wasn't fully working for us, and that our team was spending a lot of time commuting, and we are a commuting organization, so we really should be supporting our employees and making sure that we're investing in them. And so we decided to execute this remote work strategy, which actually included looking at our financial processes and how to move that from paper-based, in-office-based, into more of a digital cloud environment. And then, of course, we all know what happened. The pandemic hit in March 2020. And so we were in a position where we were working with an accountant and was really a great relationship. However, it's very challenging with the lockdowns to be able to access the one QuickBooks file on a very old computer in an office that you are not able to go into. So that created some pretty significant problems. And so we knew we needed to find another solution. And I will note that our remote work strategy was mostly pretty straightforward to implement. The hardest and biggest challenge was actually in our financials. And so that's really when we turned to Enkel a couple months into the pandemic.
Okay. So based on that answer, the decision to outsource actually was part of your mobile strategy.
It was, and for us, we were not really sure what the options were out there. We had always just worked with one accountant. But one of the things that the pandemic brought was a big challenge around contingency and redundancy. I probably talk to my team way too much about this, but when someone is not feeling well and you're only relying on one vendor to support you, that is going to be an issue. And the great thing about for an organization like Enkel is that they have multiple team members. So if someone's not able to work on your file, someone else can be brought on. And that helped us so much. Again, beginning of the pandemic. So we definitely needed that.
Gotcha. So did you have any concerns or reservations about outsourcing such an important business function or organizational function?
Yeah, I think like many businesses, we had reams of paper. And we were very comfortable printing everything, having everything in files. So the idea of working with someone who wasn't, their headquarters wasn't based in Ontario, that everything was going to be done online was definitely a real question for us. Thankfully, we did a lot of research into figuring out what the legalities are. And we realized we can actually still meet all of our requirements. You still print paper sometimes, but ultimately be able to ensure that we were going to be still operating very, very well without having to basically stand at the printer all day, and have to have a filing cabinet full of paper. So it actually was possible for us.
Okay. So how did you find Enkel then? How did you stumble upon Enkel as a potential partner in this?
Well, I think I used our favorite friend, Google. But specifically what I was looking for was an organization that served nonprofits and also had bookkeeping and accounting services. That was really, really important for us. Obviously, we've since added controllership services, which is very helpful to have. So that was key. And it was great to learn that Enkel worked a lot with nonprofits. Ultimately, it is a different kind of accounting. And so we wanted that support.
Okay, great. So what are some of the highlights of working with Enkel? How has it changed? How have we solved your problems, challenges, et cetera?
Yeah, it's been really great. Honestly, smooth sailing, which is more than I could say about everything we've all been having to deal with over the last couple of years. So everything from the onboarding right through to just everyday operations has been really a great experience. So for us, we've enjoyed kind of the one point of contact that we have, someone who's really there to kind of walk you through different things. Even all of the tools, like we have never used most of the tools. In fact, just as the pandemic hit, we had moved from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. So that was still new to us. And then all of the integrations that Enkel uses and the ease of getting access to that information was all amazing. It's really helped streamline things very well. And yeah, there's like probably tons and tons of things. I would say we actually went in and looked at some of the improvements and the time that we've saved. So just in financials alone, we probably saved about 64% of our time is saved just by working with Enkel.
Wow. Because
we no longer have to print things. People don't have to come in and look at things. We don't have to scan, until our fingers bleed. And then you don't have to go in to get a document. Everything's accessible. And the other thing I think that was really key was just how much transparency there was. So you're able to, because of these cloud-based tools, give permissions to different people to access, whatever files you need them to access or to do certain things. And that meant that, again, going back to contingency redundancy, even in our team, if someone wasn't able to do something, I could go in and figure out where they were at, if they looked at a file or not, and then be able to make sure that I was working with Enkel to complete whatever tasks that we had on hand. So those, I think, are a few of the major reasons why we really enjoyed working with Enkel.
Yeah. And that's a good call out because I think a lot of companies or organizations don't realize that, yes, you get the service, but you also get this whole suite of software underneath you to help enable you to operate better in that cloud environment. Okay. So you commented on a 64% time savings. What other results have you achieved working with Enkel? Could be anything from focus to planning to savings, time savings, cost savings, whatever, anything.
Yeah, for sure. The transparency is one I would say is very important to us, especially when we go into the audit season. It is because it's something that we do every day. So we're aware of what's going on. And then when it comes to audit time, we're able to collect all the files very easily and work with Enkel to have a very smooth audit process. Those of you who've been through this process, you know it's a lot of work. So that's been really great. And then in terms of actual cost savings, it's everything from like not having to pay for printing to even things like storage. I don't think that we realize how much paper storage first thing weighs. I feel like I got a workout just, dealing with all of that when we moved offices. But what it has significantly helped us do is reduce literally our office size, because we no longer need massive filing cabinets for our files. So these are some of the things that maybe you may not be thinking about, but actually are so important when it comes to considering who you're working with. And then I think the data security one was something that is very new to us. If you have your files behind kind of lock and key, you think, okay, it's secure, and sure, someone has to be able to access your office and be able to get into it. But actually what we do find is it's more secure when it is digitally stored, because you can password protect stuff. You have a lot more control over who has access, and you know who's accessed your things. Mm-hmm. So that, I think those are the few things that for us has been really transformative. I would say the last thing is the amount of learning that we've been able to actually have. And that's because when you work with Enkel, it's very much like a learning process. So you ask questions, you get an answer, but then you learn more, because we're not accountants. We're not even like very good bookkeepers. And so having experts on hand to teach us things has really changed for us how we look at things, how we do our work, and has really helped us plan for the future.
Okay. So is there anything else you'd like to share about working with Enkel for other organizations who might be considering it?
Yeah, I think that when you're considering a firm, there does seem to be a lot of options out there. For us, we went on a very deep dive to figure out what works for us. And I think that why we chose Enkel was because there was a clear value for money. They worked with our size of firm. Not every organization or accounting firm can do that. Mm-hmm. And for us, it matched everything that we were looking for, whether it was nonprofit or again, that team that was there, all of the cloud-based tools that we've been using. And ultimately, it's really given us a peace of mind that I don't think we would have otherwise gotten working with anyone else. So we've really enjoyed the experience, and I really encourage any of you who are considering working with Enkel to do so.
Fantastic. Dorinda, thanks so much for sharing your story with us today. I know that other nonprofits will be interested to hear how you are outsourcing non-core roles and keeping everyone in your organization focused on your mission. So best of luck to you and the team at pointA. And thanks again for talking to us today.
Great. Thank you so much.